Well, Blair, thanks for spending some time with me. I appreciate it. This is great. Good just to catch up. I know it's been a while since we've been able to hang out. But let's start with some scripture. Proverbs 18:24 says, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." I share that scripture this morning because, man, you have been a friend for, I guess we were trying to figure this out a few minutes ago, 30 plus years, which time flies. But I just want to preface everything by saying you're the greatest man I've ever slept with. Some people may think, whoa, wait a second. Pastor's coming out of the closet. No. To obviously give a little more detail on that. When we played for East Cobb, there were some guys who wouldn't take showers after the game, which is absolutely appalling.
Yes.
And disgusting. It's just rancid. Why would you not take a shower
after sweating? You're in dirt.
You've been out there in 95-degree temperatures.
Right.
We had guys, and you'll remember, I'm not going to name any names. They know who they are. Would take their uniform off and sit there in their sliding shorts and then go to bed and then wake up and put their uniforms back on and then go play.
Yeah.
And I thought that is disgusting. So anyway, why don't you explain a little bit more why I would have made that comment just a minute ago? That way it can help all of us.
For the audience, I'm a very OCD type person where I like to be clean at all times. My wife gets kind of irritated with me that I make our bed every single morning before I leave just because things need to be in their place and I need to take showers. Even though I don't have a lot of hair, still, showers are a good thing to have, and you and I decided that we wanted to be clean. And for the audience, when we traveled with East Cobb, we had to have 4 guys to a room, splitting 2 double beds. So you didn't have any options, and my option was Mick because you were clean, I was clean, and we kept to our separate sides of the bed.
We did. That's right. Yeah.
But I forget where we were. We had a new teammate or something, and we walked into a hotel room, and I said, "Mick, which bed's ours?" And the look that he gave was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I got myself into?"
I remember that moment specifically because we were in Greensboro, North Carolina, maybe. We were in somewhere in North Carolina. It was near Wake Forest.
Okay.
Because we were playing a tournament. It was during the fall.
And it was cold.
It was really cold. We went and watched the movie Seven.
Yes.
Oh, that was crazy.
So
but our roommate was Dustin Langley.
Yes.
And Dustin, he went to Pebblebrook, I think. I ran into him a couple of years ago, by the way, out in Douglasville.
Okay.
Maybe Carrollton. But anyway, I think he led East Cobb with doubles for ever.
Great player.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable player. Actually, I think I saw him online the other day. I think I was connected with him somehow. I'll have to tag him in this. This will be fun. But yeah, when you made that comment, and it was kind of funny because you're like, "Mick, what's one's our bed?" and Dustin was like, "Holy cow!" Especially a guy from Pebblebrook, you know.
That's right.
It's like, what's happening with you East Cobb people?
That's right.
So anyway, it was great.
Too funny.
Yeah. No, but I do appreciate that you took showers and you were clean and you kept to your side of the bed. That helped me get my sleep because I have to have sleep because I can't play baseball or function, period, without sleep. Right. It's our superhuman power, right? We all need to sleep. But anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate it. But no, I want to take us back for a minute. When did we meet? And roughly which year? And do you remember any of those early interactions when we first were connected? And we know, obviously, this was all in God's providence that we're sitting here 30 plus years removed. But God orchestrated these things. But what do you remember about some of those?
I think that we met probably spring of '94.
Okay.
So that would have been our freshman year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You at Harrison, me at Lassiter. And our team was formed. We were getting ready to start practice once our spring season was over. And I do remember that we used to meet at that Riverside Bank off Johnson Ferry Road because we played at Mount Bethel down the street at the corner of Johnson Ferry and Lower Roswell. That was kind of the 13, 14-year-old. But then we met, I think you came over when we were 15.
That's right.
To play for Gary. So I think we still got all of our uniforms from there. And our Reebok cleats, like we laughed about because we were so proud to have Reebok as our sponsor. We felt like we were big time.
Little patch on our pants.
That's
that
right.
said Reebok.
That's right, Reebok.
It's like, man, we had the Clemson style pants, the long white ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those were nice.
It was very nice, man. We were living large back in that day.
We were.
Okay, so that was
that
roughly
94?
Yeah, that would
95.
That would have been 94.
Okay.
Because I remember getting a phone call from Gary, and him, basically just telling me I was going to play for him. You're going to come play for me, and you're going to be at this place to pick up your uniform and meet some other guys. But yeah, it was at that bank. I do remember that. And then, honestly, I can't remember the first time that we got to interact on the baseball field, because it seems like we just hopped right into it, practiced a few times, and then we were playing.
Right.
And it was a fun time, wasn't it?
It was a fun time. It was one of those times where we had fun on the field.
Mm-hmm.
We knew what our mission was every single game.
Oh, yeah.
But we had fun doing it. And then afterwards, we were just good friends.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know what made us gravitate towards each other, but probably because it's like, gosh, that guy is so good. Honestly, Mick, and I'm not saying this just because we've been friends for so long. I know you're very humble in nature, but you're probably one of the best first basemen I've ever seen in my life at all stages. Just your ability to pick balls in the dirt, just you never really panicked. You were very cool, calm, and collected, which this day and age, we don't see that a lot. We don't see players who can adjust in a quick fashion, and honestly, you were fun to watch play.
Yeah. Well, I have to attribute that to, obviously, repetition, from my dad hitting ground balls to me all the time, or Coach Elkins and Coach Power at Harrison just continuously working with me. And, if you do it over and over again, it becomes second nature. And even in a moment where you might bobble it, you still can calmly grab the ball and get it to the pitcher who's covering, or get to the bag yourself. But I appreciate that. But it was one of those that when I think back to those days of East Cobb, it was such the early days of East Cobb baseball that it wasn't a massive production. I mean, granted, I think we had a team budget of like $40,000 or something. It was a big deal financially for the summer, but it was still just like three teams. One of the guys that I coach against right now, he's the head coach at Paulding County, is Dave Devey. Yeah, and we've talked about this a couple of times. I'm actually hopefully gonna have him on the podcast sometime soon when the season's over. But there were like three teams. And for Gary, we traveled in those vans.
Oh, those are awesome.
All over the place, right? It was like, I call shotgun.
Yeah.
And then like Gary and I would just do it. We didn't say anything. We were just hanging out. Just quiet the entire time, right? But I kind of liked it that way.
Yeah, that was how you were.
Yeah. But how much fun was it? Just getting to travel. And that was the thing. Now they don't do all the traveling because, you got this massive complex either at East Cobb or Lake Point. Either one. So everybody's coming here to play. But we had to travel. And something I'd never experienced. And one of the things I remember distinctly was the first time I flew was when we flew up to, I think it was Greenville or Greensboro. I think it's Greensboro, North Carolina or something like that, for like a Babe Ruth type playoff.
Regional or something.
Regional something. First time I ever flew. But we were sitting in the airport, and you're like calling out all the different kinds of planes, and I'm like, how does this dude know all these kinds of planes? He's got to be making up. This is before the internet, so I can't check you, right? So I'm thinking, how does he know all this stuff? And I'll never forget. I started asking other people, do you know the kinds of planes? And they're like, well, not really, but that's maybe this kind of a plane. It was amazing how you knew. I thought this guy's going to grow up and be a pilot or something. This is wild, but it was so much fun just to travel.
Yeah,
and there was a camaraderie.
Yes.
Where you and I in particular, but I mean, obviously our teams in general were one that we didn't know everybody because you came from different schools. Some of you guys knew each other because some of you were kind of in that East Cobb area where it was, Sprayberry, Lassiter, Walton. Mm-hmm. But But I'll have to say, maybe it was your kindness and gratitude that maybe I gravitated towards you. I was a West Cobb redneck, and coming across the other side of 41 and that area, it was kind of a new deal for me. And there was always the stigma that, the East Cobb guys were a little bit snobby. It's kind of funny that I married a Pope girl, but anyway. But no, it was a lot of fun back then. What are some of your fond memories of playing East Cobb back in that day?
Oh man, I tell people this all the time. I think our 16-year-old summer, and I could be wrong, I think we were 80-19.
Wow.
So we played 99 games in about 3.5 months. So obviously that was after our sophomore year. You were on varsity, I was on varsity. That's when we lost to Sprayberry in the state championship.
That's right.
That's when you and going back to your conversation with Scott.
Oh yeah.
What was the score of that game? It was at Lassiter where you pitched an absolute gem as a sophomore. Was it 2-1? Was it 3-2? I think it was the difference was by one run.
I think it was actually 1-0.
1-0.
I gave up that home run too. And what was his name? Or do you remember his name? He's a big dude.
Was it Andrew Ferrer or Tyler Moon?
I think it was Tyler Moon.
Okay, so change up, right?
Change up because Suter said don't throw it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, first he put a fastball down, and I was like, no. He's like, curveball. No, and he goes, kind of turns his head like, no. He shook me off. He's like, not a changeup.
Yeah.
And I did. I threw it down and low, and the dude put it in the trees.
Yeah. But that was an incredibly well played game.
Oh,
you pitched really well, especially as a sophomore.
Oh man,
at that time.
Well, and Scott threw an incredible game.
He did
because he had to face Adam Everett, Chad Suter, Corey Patterson.
You.
I mean, he had to face top-notch D1 major league hitters.
Wasn't Adam Poe on that team too?
He was, and Poe was on the team as well. He was a right fielder.
What about Todd Faulkner?
Faulkner was on the team. You're right. He was playing third base. Yeah. It's crazy how well he pitched.
He did.
Against us. Yeah.
I would say my highlight of my sophomore year, and then we'll get back to East Cobb thing.
Yeah.
I took pride in warming Scott up for his starts. And I kid you not, there are several times where there's 20, 30 scouts standing around, and he is just throwing bullets. And I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. But yeah. Scott was a great player. Great player.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, getting back to East Cobb, I think to me it was, we knew when we stepped on the field, we had each other's backs, all 9 of us or whoever was on the field at the time, and that we were going to win. Yeah. There was no doubt that we were going to win. And then to be able to travel to different cities in the Southeast, to be in Nashville one weekend, to be in Knoxville or Sevierville, I mean, that was so much fun. Yeah. And like you said, before the complex, before Perfect Game, before PBR came into play, like we were kind of creating that on our own, which was kind of fun. Yeah. And I don't know, it was nice to have guys from all different walks of life in this, metropolitan area, but everybody got along. Yeah. And it was fun. Yeah. It was, obviously things are fun when you win, but it was fun. And to have Gary, I would say hands down through all the coaches that I've had, Gary is probably the best coach I've ever played for. Yeah. And he had a funny way of motivating his players.
Yes, he did.
But I realized early on, if he's yelling at me, that means he cares. Yeah. And I better step it up. Yeah. Yeah. When he didn't yell, that's when it was like, well, he doesn't care about you. So you might want to look for a new team next year.
Yeah. No, but it was great playing for him. And then you think back to the guys who were on that team. And at the time, I don't think any of us would have said, hey, we're these big time players. I think we all would have probably said we're more or less kind of a blue collar, get after it type players, right? But I mean, so many of us ended up at D1 big schools,
right?
Playing at these large schools. And yet, I don't think any of us had that mentality. I mean, you go back and look at the lineup from leadoff all the way through, and yeah, a lot of these guys ended up playing D1 baseball. But that wasn't what was at the forefront of our minds when we were playing. Right. It was literally, we're playing to win, we're playing to get better, and we're playing for one another. And you're right, Gary, I loved playing for Gary. I thought he was one of the best coaches I've ever played for. You knew he was for you. He absolutely hated the umpire. Yeah,
which I have a funny story about that to say.
Yeah, and he didn't like the other team. Right. And so it was like, this is the kind of guy you want to play for.
Yeah.
Because he's all about you and this team. So tell me something about some of these funny stories maybe that you got in your mind.
So we're playing at, I think it was Sevierville High School, and Gary goes out to do the lineup exchange. He recognizes the umpire right away. So he goes, I'm officially throwing myself out of this game. Roger Burchett, Tony's dad, Roger, you got this. I'm going to hit golf balls. And so whenever we got, I don't know if we were on the home team or not, this umpire, the home plate umpire is like, can I just ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, why is Gary such a jerk? And I said, either you love him or you hate him. And most of the time, umpires hate him. So there was that. And then I'll never forget, we're playing at Lassiter one day because that was our home field, which, I mean, gosh, the local high schools are so fortunate to have East Cobb pour back into them after the summers. And they have great complexes as a result. But I'll never forget, Gary gets thrown out challenging a call, and Gary goes, you know what, I'm paying for you today. He goes, you're out of here, and he threw the umpire out. And I think it was the home plate umpire that he threw out. So he goes, hey, you, whoever was in the field, he's like, throw the gear on, you're behind the plate.
He was crazy. I absolutely loved it though.
Yeah.
And it was his job. I mean, it was his full-time job. You think back, you're like, that is crazy. I mean, it was this early season of East Cobb.
Yes.
Where it's not the same as it is today. But he cared about us.
He did.
And he may not have vocalized that at any point.
Right.
But you knew he cared.
Yeah. Because it was almost like he's a player's coach.
Yeah.
He always had our back no matter what. And if he thought that something went against us, then he was going to fight for that. Yeah. And I appreciated that. Do you remember when we were in the Knoxville area and we're playing at some tiny little park and we weren't playing well. And I think it was probably an early morning game and we wanted to be elsewhere. And he absolutely just laid into us. We were all sitting in the first base dugout. He's laying into us. I swear people could hear him from 2 miles away. And it was one of those things where it was like, okay, it's time to go play. And then we ended up crushing that team.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing today is a lot of players can't handle it.
Right.
They can't handle a coach who's yelling at them, who's going to give it to them. And he didn't do it all the time. But when he did it, you knew it was like, okay, we've screwed up. It's time to get serious about this and take care of business.
Yeah.
So we can end this and move on. He really did afford an opportunity to so many of us to go to new heights that we never would have been if he didn't lead.
Right.
Lead by forming East Cobb baseball and giving us these wonderful opportunities to continue to play and get better and be seen by different schools and scouts. I think that's the thing too, is that travel baseball today is, these kids are getting to play a lot, but they play a lot and they just kind of reaffirm the bad habits that they already had, which is not good.
No.
And he wasn't that way. He was going to make sure that we did it the right way. And that was him being a good coach and preparing us for the next level or the next season. And I'm grateful because as a guy from West Cobb that had no options over here really to continue to play, he really did. He helped change my trajectory of my life by giving me that phone call. And it was also kind of funny. Our 16-year-old season, I'll never forget, he called me because remember, we didn't have text messages and all that stuff. You had to physically call a home phone. And he called, and my mom answered, and he's like, Miss Knox, can I speak to Mick? She's like, oh, yeah. And Gary says, hey, we got a new player. He said, he lives somewhere over there near you in Alabama. And he said, he doesn't have a car. Will you pick him up and bring him to practice every day? And I said, okay. Where does he live? So he gave me his address. And I said, what's his name? He said, Aaron Parker. And I said, okay, what position does he play? He pitches. At that point, I feel like I had probably gone too far asking too many questions of Gary. And then he was like, just pick him up and bring him to practice. It's like, okay. And so I did. I'd drive over there and pick him up. And the funny thing was, it was like 15 minutes or almost 20 minutes further away from where I lived into Paulding County. And I'd get him, and we'd drive together all the way over to Lassiter, which, would take me an hour from my neck of the woods. But it was great. I got to know Aaron really well. And obviously we roomed with him too. It was a lot of fun.
Great player.
Oh man, great pitcher. East Paulding was a high school where he went to. All right, so you went to Lassiter. Mm-hmm. Now, take us a little bit further in this. Let's go to your senior year at Lassiter. How did you guys do? What did it look like for you guys?
So senior year was a great year for us. We lost to you guys. You guys beat us earlier in the year, but great year. We ended up going to the state championship. We lost to Colquitt County. They had some studs. Hayden Glemo. Oh, my goodness.
Man, that guy could pitch.
He was so good. And I think he was a freshman All-American at Auburn.
I think you're right.
He was a great player.
And I remember that.
It was one of those where we played really well throughout all the state tournament, had to go down there, lost the first game. So as you know, in Georgia, it's back in the day, I guess it's still the case, best 2 out of 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we played the doubleheader first day, and then if you split, then you go to the third game on the second day. But so the first game we lose, and it wasn't bad, but the second game we're in like the 4th inning, and we'd just gone up, which we finally have the momentum, and all of a sudden, boom, lights go out. And the lights go out in the entire town, Mick. So we're in Moultrie, Georgia, like an hour north of the Georgia-Florida border. And supposedly a hamster got into a generator or something and knocked the power out to the entire town. This is 1997. It's not like we're in the 1800s.
Oh, my goodness.
And what was funny is they lined the outfield fence with pickup trucks. Well, all the guys down there hunt, so they had all these deer spotting lights. So they turned them all on so that everybody could get their stuff, get their belongings, and get out of the park. We had to take showers at the hotel in the dark.
Oh, my God.
Power didn't come back on till like overnight, maybe 2 or 3 in the morning. So then we had to continue play the next day, won the second game, ended up losing the third game. I think Hayden pitched the first and third game.
I think you're mistaken. Right. Yeah.
And he was just a fantastic. He could hit spots. He wasn't overpowering.
No,
he hit spots. Yeah. He had a good change of speed.
He played with us in that Team Georgia after our senior year. Man. Now, you guys were there your junior year too, weren't you?
No, we got knocked. Well, we weren't. We were in our. What did we do our junior year? We won the region.
Yep.
And then we got knocked out, maybe in the second or third round.
Okay.
So sophomore and senior years when we went to the state championship. In the semifinals, that's where Tony slid into third base.
Yeah.
And slid past it and separated his shoulder.
Yep.
So then I had to start. My second varsity start was in the state championship with, people lining this, like Scott said, lining this
packed
Sandy Plains.
Yeah.
And that was incredible.
Yeah.
Marlon Bird. Gosh, he's huge.
Oh, man. Well, it's kind of funny that that's your second start, which we'll talk about in a second, something that happened in college.
Yes.
It's almost like God sets you up for just the right time. Anyway, so you guys, you have a run at Lassiter where you really are put on the map, and everybody's starting to realize around the whole state how good you guys are. All right, so you go down there, your senior year, you guys get beat. Mm-hmm. What were some of your plans at the end of that season for your next steps? Obviously, we go play Team Georgia in Oklahoma. We roomed together. We didn't have to sleep in the same bed. That's right. That was nice. We had host parents.
That's right.
We had host parents. They even gave us fans. Remember the fans?
Yes.
Oh, I love a fan when I'm sleeping. Anyway, so it's so ridiculous. We're so type A. Anyway, we go there, we play. We had a great time. That's where we met Tim Drew.
Yes.
Tim Drew, JD Drew, and Stephen Drew's brother. Mm-hmm. Throws an 88-mile-an-hour slider off of your kneecap.
Yes. Which
I'd never seen either. What is wrong with it? He was drafted in the first round by the Braves. He was really good. Hayden pitched as well, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I met Victor Minicow.
Yes.
If you remember him, he played short for us, went to Tech.
And then went to Tech. And then Jeff Keppinger was on our team.
Keppinger, that's right. Yeah. Billy would have been on the team, but I think they didn't let anybody. It was crazy like that. Billy was nuts. Yeah. He was good. He was a good ball player, too. Man, we had a credible Team Georgia. But we got beat in the last round by Oklahoma, didn't we?
I think we won.
Did we win?
I think we won. I could be wrong. I think we won.
I want to say there was a guy, a lefty pitcher for Oklahoma. He got drafted in the first round by somebody. And I thought that guy shut us down that night.
Maybe, but I thought we won. I could be wrong.
We'll have to go back and look
That's
at
where Stockton hit like 10 home runs in 7 games, or something.
which was fantastic to see.
Yeah.
Because he had hit a little bit of a slump during the high school season.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, he just came right out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so we go play out there. What were the next steps for you? What were you thinking as you head off to the next steps in college?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, my junior year, I didn't have a good junior year, hitting wise. And so that's when everybody signs and gets seen, and then you kind of commit your fall of your senior year. So I was kind of behind the 8 ball there. Had a great senior year. We were in the Braves 400 club together, and then was fortunate to be like first team All State, which that was a blessing. And
incredible.
And so I actually utilized my time with Team Georgia. I had kind of verbally committed to Kennesaw at that time, and Coach Sansing, and they were a great program.
Absolutely.
And then coming out of our trip to Oklahoma for Team Georgia, I went to Joplin, Missouri on Team Georgia to play against the USA teams, like the Junior Olympic trial teams.
Right. I forgot about that.
So Brad was invited, and he played out there on one of the USA teams. And so from that, Turtle Thomas at the time was the recruiting coach and catching coach for University of Miami. And so he approached me and he said, "Hey, would love for you to become a preferred walk-on. Is that something you would consider?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is Miami." And so I came back home, talked about it with my parents, prayed on it. And, I had a conversation with Coach Sansing to say, "Hey, I know I verbally committed to you, but I think I'm going to pursue this opportunity at Miami."
Yeah.
And so because of having the Hope Scholarship, I stayed at home. Miami's pretty expensive. It's a private school. And back in the mid-'90s, it was still $20,000 because it's private. And so I took some elective courses at Kennesaw in the fall, and then with the intent to transfer in the spring.
That's right.
So then my parents and I drove down to Orlando, spent some time with my grandparents and my aunts and cousins for Christmas, and then went down there, and I actually attended like their Christmas camp.
Okay.
And so I attended that, and then we actually practiced for a week before school started. And so that wasn't against NCAA rules or anything. So I practiced with the team, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a fish out of water. These guys are so good. And they really were. When you had Pat Burrell and Bobby Hill.
I played against them that year.
Yeah.
We went down there for the regional.
Yes.
Amazing.
Robbie Morrison, Jason Michaels, like all these guys were so good.
Yep.
And so I was like, gosh, what am I going to do here? And so then Coach Morris called me into his office and said, "Hey, we'd like to redshirt you." And I said, "Okay, I appreciate the opportunity." And so I reached back out to Jamie Shoup, who was Florida State's recruiting coach. And he had sent me letters. And, at the time, I had gotten a lot of nice letters from Tim Corbin at Clemson and had some suitors, but nothing really panned out. And so reached out to Coach Shoup and said, "Hey, they want to redshirt me here. Do you have any opportunities? Do you know of anything?" He's like, "Well, there might be an opportunity at Pensacola Junior College. Is this something that you would be interested in?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I would love to play." And so my parents drove back down to Miami to pick me up. We spent the night with my grandparents in Orlando, and then we drove straight to Pensacola, got out of the car, and I had to do a tryout in front of Coach Hamilton, the entire team. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like talk about being put in this, spotlight.
Yeah.
And so I had to throw, I had to hit, I had to catch, and did well enough to where they said, "Hey, we would love for you to come play for us." So drove back to Marietta, got the rest of my stuff, came back down. One of the catchers at the time got hurt, and he was going to be out for the season. So I kind of assumed his role. I moved in where he was living at this apartment and with 4 other guys. And I'm like, oh, what am I getting myself into, Completely new world, away from, my parents for the first time. As kind of,
it's a big
I
deal.
have an older half sister, but she was always out of the house. So here I am, and I'm like, oh gosh, what am I doing? And so it was all a God thing. I started right away, played the first 8 games of the season. The 9th game of the season, we're in Bay Minette, Alabama. It's kind of about 30, 45 minutes outside of Mobile.
Okay.
In Nowhere, Alabama, and we're on the road. We're in the field. We have a runner on first base. I think there's 2 outs. Runner on first, ball's hit in the gap. They relay it in. I get the ball. I go to tag the guy, and he basically had his spikes up and jumped in the side of my knee. And so I knew my knee was crushed at the time. Fortunately, he held on to the ball, tagged him out. He was out. And so I just lay there for a second because I really didn't know what had transpired. And so I got up and I actually like jogged back to the dugout. Okay, maybe everything's okay.
Maybe.
And so then one of my teammates asked, I didn't see what happened. What happened to your knee? And so I showed him. And when I did the movement, my knee dislocated. It just dislocated from itself. And so that's when I knew I was in trouble. Ended up having to have my knee reconstructed as a result. But it was such a blessing, and it afforded me just another year to mature and another year to kind of grow. And I had to wait 6 weeks for my MCL to heal on its own because I completely tore my ACL, partially tore my MCL, and partially tore my lateral meniscus, or completely tore my lateral meniscus. So I needed my MCL to heal on its own before I could have those things done. So school paid for it. I waited that 6 weeks. I actually had surgery here in Atlanta. Dr. Chandler, he was actually the Braves
That's right.
doctor at the time. So he did Smoltz's elbow and Chipper's knee.
Yep.
So I was in very good hands. And what he did, this is incredible. So this was now 98, spring of 98.
Okay.
And he consulted other orthopedic surgeons and he said, this guy's going to be a catcher. So I need something a little bit more elastic. Instead of doing the standard patellar tendon, what would you recommend? And so several of them said, I think you should probably do a hamstring graft. And so that's what they actually, and I won't show it on camera, but they drilled through my shin, he went to the backside of my leg. He cut my hamstring, part of it, reattached it. And then my whatever he took out, the hamstring, that's my new ACL. So because of all the squatting, that was kind of revolutionary at the time.
Yeah.
And I have minimal scars. I don't have a lot of pain this day and age. I'll have some fluid buildup if I have overuse of it.
Yeah.
But it's been incredible. So at that time in 1998, here he's doing this revolutionary surgery and it worked out. So then received a medical red shirt, had a great red shirt freshman year. I think I was one of made all conference or something.
Yeah.
And then, really appreciate Coach Hamilton and him bringing me in and really believing in me. And so then had a great year. I signed with FSU as a backup. So it worked out. Coach Shoup said, just give it some time.
Yeah.
Signed as a backup. And I, with the intent, like, I'm just going to work my tail off. And that was kind of, for me, I wasn't the most gifted. So I had to work twice as hard as everybody else, which I was happy to do because I was on the same team as great athletes like you. Yeah. And so I had to work and I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove myself. Like, my buddies that I all played with, they're a D1 in some capacity. I need to prove this. Yep. And so the starting catcher was a gentleman by the name of Chris Hart, who's now, he's been Elliott Avent's right-hand man at NC State for years. But his uncle was our athletic director at the time. So had an uphill climb.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for him, he got hurt. He pulled his hamstring like a week before the season started. So then I assumed that role. That was in 2000. We went all the way through. We went to Omaha. That was, outside of getting married and having kids, that was such a great experience. So we finished third. LSU knocked us out in the semifinals. They beat Stanford for the national championship. But that wouldn't have happened if certain things that he laid out that I had no foresight into transpired.
God's providence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, moving pieces that you never could have imagined.
Right.
And yet he's setting you up for such an incredible experience. Now, you said something very key. You were not afraid to work. You're not afraid to work in No Town, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Got injured. You're still working. I think so many people want to live for the limelights. And you can't get to the limelights and be successful. You can't even get there unless you're willing to work when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
When you're playing in a smaller venue and smaller games, and you're getting after it, getting the work done so that you can prepare yourself for the possibility. But it's incredible also in God's providence that the doctor was able to do that kind of a surgery at that date.
Right.
Because many people remember 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. If somebody needed Tommy John, it was probably a good bet you weren't coming back. You were going to get the surgery, but then it wasn't going to hold.
Right.
Wasn't going to work. You weren't going to have the same arm slot or whatever, and it wasn't going to happen. But for that surgery, for a catcher, which is a little more obscure in comparison to what we see even today, what a blessing from the Lord in order to put you on the center stage to be playing in the College World Series. That was back before we had cell phones and we had to have calling cards to call each other. And we would do that from time to time when I was at South Carolina. But I'll never forget when you made it to the College World Series because we turned the TV on and we're like, that's Blair catching in the College World Series. This is unbelievable. It was one of those moments like, I know him. I know him.
It was great. It was, gosh, it was such a great experience. Wish you would have been able to, wish Brad would have been able to. Kevin, who went to Florida, Kevin Coleman, who was one of our great pitchers our senior year in high school. Yeah. And I would say probably, and I have to back up, our senior year in high school, we played Miami Westminster Christian, which is where A-Rod went to school.
That's right.
And that was on their spring break. They kind of did a tour around Atlanta. And I think we were their last stop. And it had rained, I think, overnight. And we were supposed to play them, let's say, at 11 a.m. They get to the field, and Coach Mick loves his field more than he loved anything else. And it was so pristine, but it had water. And so then we postponed it to later on in the day. And they had the audacity, because they were national champs the year before. Baseball America had named them national champs the year before. And they were on a 60-game win streak. Wow. And so they had said, well, we'll come back and we'll take infield and we'll let you know if we want to play or not. So then that gave Mick even more determination to get the field ready. Yeah. He actually put gasoline on the dirt and lit it on fire.
I can see that.
Yeah. And we ended up, Kevin pitched an incredible game. Yeah. We ended up beating them and stopping their win streak. And it was incredible because they had Manny Crespo, who went to University of Miami, who was an absolute stud. Yep. They had a kid, and I can't think of his name. He went to Texas. Okay. Their starting 9 all went D1, and they were so good. But it was great for us, small Marietta High School to beat this nationally renowned private school, which was awesome.
And for a guy like Coleman to take the mound.
Yeah.
One of the most humble guys I've ever met in my life. Gosh, I need to catch up with him. I haven't seen him in forever. You can tell me.
He and I speak periodically. Okay. He and his wife live just outside of Athens. Okay. She is the chief cardiologist at University of Georgia's vet school. Whoa. And then Kevin is actually like a board certified vet too. So he does a ton of not emergency surgeries. He does like ACL repairs. Okay. But yeah, He's great. They have 3 girls.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
3 girls for
him,
Kevin.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's the kind of guy
that can a set of twins, which is even better.
I love it. Oh man, that's too much. Wow. Well, so you finish up playing in the College World Series. Amazing, amazing to see. Probably want to skip just a little bit of time. You may have met somebody at FSU that may have also changed your life. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about someone you might have met.
Okay. So I met Holly my fall of my senior year. So we met October of 2001. We know what happened September of 2001. So life-changing events, but we met in October of 2001, and she was a Batgirl. So there was a kind of an unwritten rule that players and Batgirls could not talk. And so what's funny, and she's going to be so bad that I'm telling the story, but what's funny is the night that we met at a place called Late Night Library, which was not a library. You're not studying with books. It's a bar in Tallahassee, or it was back in the day.
Of course you're studying. It's anatomy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But all the spirit groups and all the athletic teams, they had an event. They had like a social event. And so with her being part of the Batgirls, they came. And I'm a wallflower. I'm not one to get in your face and talk. And I kind of sit back and observe the same way. Yeah. And so I'm just hanging out with my buds. And all of a sudden she walked up and we started talking. And she's like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Blair." And she's like, "Oh, Blair Varnes?" I was like, No. Blair Varnes is a pitcher. I'm Blair McCaleb. I play another position. And so so I give her grief about that because, and she's probably cringing right now, but because Blair, we had our Garnet and Gold scrimmage that night, and Blair Varnes pitched, and so she probably heard his name, and so that's kind of her story. But I'm like, nope. But I had a ring from, I think probably from Omaha on, so she was obviously looking at that. And she's like, can I put your ring on? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so at the time we just kept it just cordial and we were friendly. And then in the spring we started kind of wanted to hang out more, and so we kind of got our coach's blessing. I wasn't a troublemaker. I had good grades,
right?
And so we kind of kept it hush hush for a while, but then we received their blessing, and so we had, we were pretty consistent. And then I was commitment phobic. I'll be the first to admit it. We had a couple breakups along the way, and then finally, I proposed to her fall of 2008. So we met in October of 2001. It took me that long to propose. And what's funny is I had to coerce her to do all this. So Aaron Cheeseman was another catcher and one of my teammates. And at the time, he was already out of school, and he was a financial planner, financial advisor. And he was actually doing that for Coach Shoup, who was full circle, going back to Coach Shoup, the recruiting coach. Well, Holly loved Coach Shoup. She thought he was the greatest thing. And so I said, hey, Aaron's out of town and we're back in Tallahassee for the weekend. I was like, Aaron's out of town. I've got to go to the field and I have to get some papers that Coach Shoup signed and get those to Aaron. She's like, okay, I'll go. And so and it had rained that day. And so I had my buddies go up early and pull the tarp off home plate. And so she and I walked in from the left field, because you could park out behind the left field wall, and got down on a knee, proposed her at home plate. And then I had somebody in the dugout taking pictures. And so it was great. And then she had all her friends on standby for years because she thought that I was going to propose earlier. And because of my phobia and my lack of commitment, that didn't transpire. So what I had done is we were actually going to dinner because one of my buddies, it was his wife's birthday. And so we were celebrating her birthday at this nice restaurant in Tallahassee. Well, I had invited all of her friends. So when she was calling her friends weren't answering. She's like, why are they not answering? She was so mad. And then they were all there. So that was fall of 2008. We got married in July of 2009. So we're approaching 17 years of marriage and known each other. I guess in October we'll have known each other 35 years, which is crazy. I'm sorry, 25 years.
Yep.
But have two wonderful kids. So Cheney is our daughter. She will be 14 in July. She'll be a freshman at Lassiter next year.
Wow.
She's a tremendous athlete. She loves the Lord. Has a huge heart. But she plays basketball and volleyball. So she's currently in her AAU season for basketball, and she's doing very well.
That's great.
And then Brooks, my not so little 11-year-old, he's tall. He towers over a lot of people, but he'll be 12 in July, and then he'll be a 7th grader in middle school next year. So and baseball is his main sport. He actually played basketball on the feeder team for Lassiter this year as a 6th grader. So he enjoyed that, and hopefully he'll continue with that. Just it's nice to have some other disciplines that you're learning. But one thing that I love about Brooks is he actually leads our team in prayer, his 11-year-old team in prayer before every game. And so now it's such a commitment that he's like, we got to do it. Yeah. And so then now the other teammates are like, we got to pray. And so here is this 11-year-old who's, leading his team in prayer, which, I, as a father, I beam with pride about that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, that's another one of those rich blessings that the Lord sets up in our lives that we just can never imagine.
Right.
We try to lead by example, and we try to show our faith to the kids, but it's another for them to own it for themselves. And you said that about both of them, which is you have to be grateful and thankful for what he's doing in their life. Wow. So tell me a little bit about your own faith journey.
Sure.
When do you think you became a Christian? And we all have ups and downs in our walk. Just give me a little bit of the background on that.
So my dad was a banker, and we moved around Florida frequently. Just he would open new banks, and so we lived in about 4 or 5 different locations. And we moved to a suburb of West Palm Beach called Wellington. It was actually a horse community when I was kind of right at my start of my kindergarten year. Okay. And then we stayed there until we stayed there for about 5 years. So I was right through the start of my sixth grade year. We moved up here in the middle of my sixth grade year.
Okay.
And so we attended First Baptist of West Palm. So we'd take about a 30-minute drive on Sundays into church. And that's where I accepted the Lord. I was probably, I don't know, gosh, this was 1990. So I might have been 10 or 11 at the time. And I got baptized, which loved being baptized. And I'll never forget, Mick, they had this thing, and it wasn't a revival, but they had this conference or something. And it was a former kind of heavy metal band member who had come to the Lord. He was done with that and talked about the trials and tribulations he experienced prior to his relationship with the Lord and afterwards. And they actually played this video, and it was of another band member. I don't know if it was his band or something. And this guy was so depressed and that he decided that he wanted to end his life. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so sad. And so it just really opened my eyes to like, man, I need to have a relationship with God. And that was kind of the first kind of eye-opening experience for me, just because we had always attended church. And then when we moved up here, we went to Roswell Street Baptist and attended there. And so we were regular attenders for church and for Sunday school. High school kind of stayed in my walk, but really wasn't as adamant as I am, now in my current course of life. When I got to Florida State, we had our team chaplain, Clint Purvis. He was just an amazing guy. And he's been the team chaplain for baseball and for football for probably 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
And so he would lead Sunday chapels for us at home mostly. Sometimes on the road he would be there. And it was just great to have. So Coach Martin was heavy into his walk too. And so it was great to have somebody there to kind of advocate for the Lord. I strayed away a little bit, and then kind of came back to him once Holly and I started becoming serious again, and really wanted to make sure that our home was a Christ-centered home. And we're married at Johnson Ferry, where we were members, and that was fantastic. And honestly, we've done a great job kind of just making Christ the center of our home, especially in front of Brooks and Cheney, and wanting them to kind of grow in their walk too. But Holly does an incredible job volunteering at Johnson Ferry. She's on the building committee. She's on the finance committee. She was on the exploratory committee to determine, okay, what do we want to do for what venue? Do we want a new venue? Do we need to explore other options? She and I volunteered in the nursery. I was a deacon. Like we've done, and she volunteerism is at her heart. I mean, that's kind of her job. So I'll just segue real quick. So she works for Raytheon Technologies, the big defense contractor, and then they have separate companies. Her sole mission is to make sure that all 180,000 employees are volunteering and giving back to their community.
Wow.
And so that's kind of her daily charge, and that's kind of been consistent with what she's done previously in her career. So she's been there for about 2 years now, but she's loving it. She's thriving. So she loves being able to give back to the Lord and to church. So it's been great to see kind of her growth. And I would say that a lady who really played an instrumental part in her walk is her aunt. So her aunt is this lady, Jane Harrison. Her husband is Danny, and they're two great people that live in North Carolina. And Holly's been visiting them since she was kind of preteen years. And just Aunt Jan's poured into her, and they are tremendous people of faith, and have really just tried to kind of be a rock for Holly. And they really have been, especially with some, with her dad passing early on in our marriage. And then, just she's kind of like a mom to Holly, and Holly really looks up to her. And if it wasn't for her example and her witness, I don't know if Holly would be where she is in her walk today.
It's amazing how the Lord puts people in our lives to strengthen us, to encourage us, to help us along the way. But, we're made in his image and likeness, and so we really are community-based creatures. We need other people. And I think that's where we make the mistake if we begin to isolate ourselves or draw back from relationships. And that's the core, understanding of the Christian faith is that it's discipleship, right? And discipleship is life on life. But what a blessing for an aunt to step in and play that kind of a role, especially a woman who's a woman, right? Mm-hmm. And then a woman who's older, a woman who's walking in her faith. And that blessing pours into the lives of you and your children, and there will be grandchildren one day because somebody was willing to take the lead, and they led by serving. That's the part where we have to go back to Mark 10:45. He said, I came not to be served, but to serve, and to give my life as a ransom for many. This is her aunt walking in a lifestyle just like Christ, being empowered by him and by his example. Wow. And there's probably untold people who've been touched by her as well. And we don't even know their names.
Right.
But that's how God works,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one person willing to say, I'm going to follow him, and I have no idea if there's other people going to follow me. And one day you look up and you go, oh, wow, okay, there's a bunch of people following me.
Yes.
I've been following him. That's what Paul says. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. What a blessing. All right, let's shift for just a second. Yeah. What do you do for a living?
So I work for a company called the Collegiate Licensing Company. We are a licensing agency. So let's just use University of South Carolina as an example.
Oof,
so we represent...
Bad example. Okay, go ahead.
We represent about 700 plus colleges and universities, the CFP, the NCAA, all the major bowls. And so we are the agency that grants rights to a manufacturer to put South Carolina's SC baseball logo on a polo or on a cooler.
Yeah.
And so we grant those rights, and it's a very niche business, but it's a fun business because it all centers around intercollegiate athletics, which I love. I have a passion for.
Yeah.
And so previously I was a commercial banker during a down economy, which was not fun to try to keep small businesses afloat. Mm-hmm. And it was pure happenstance. Holly and I were flying back from a wedding. We had just been married. We were living in Buckhead at the time in an apartment, and we were standing on the platform in MARTA because we were going to take the train back up. And there was another couple. One of us was wearing Florida State. They were wearing Florida State and said, "Go Noles" or something, and struck up a conversation. And I don't like talking about myself, but the husband goes, "Excuse me," and this was 2010. He's like, "Excuse me, did you play baseball at Florida State?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness. First off, I was a nobody. But second off, how did you remember this?" Yeah. And so his name is Daniel Fogel, and Daniel is our VP of marketing at CLC. And so we struck up a friendship, and he reached out to me about a year later, and he said, "Hey, I think that this might," or a couple years later, he's like, "I think this might be an opportunity for you if you're interested." So I applied, and I've been there ever since. And so I'm about to celebrate my 13th anniversary next month. And it's obviously another God thing, right?
Yeah,
You're putting people in place that you have no idea would transpire. But it's been wonderful. And I'm fortunate for the company. It's a nice family atmosphere. Nobody's looking out for themselves. Everybody's looking out for each other, which I can relate from a baseball perspective. Right. I love that aspect. But one gentleman who was very instrumental in kind of my growth in my walk, but also at CLC, was a gentleman by the name of Joe Hutchison. And so Joe was our SVP over kind of our apparel, non-apparel teams, international, and so our NCAA teams. And Joe recently left. He's heading up licensing for all the minor league teams for a company called Diamond Baseball Holdings.
Okay.
But Joe's from here. He actually was the chairman of the diaconate. So he invited me to become the deacon, part of the deacon class. So spent those 3 years. And he's a wonderful guy. I'd highly recommend getting him on here.
Yeah.
But he has 3 girls. They live in Marietta. He played baseball at Stanford. He actually played for Gary. He was on the 86 Little League World Series championship team.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But great guy, humble servant. His dad actually was the lead pastor for Eastside Baptist.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And so Joe leads our Monday morning Bible studies at church, and there's a group of guys like Chris Crawford is in there.
Oh yeah.
Remember Chris?
Oh man.
Yeah. So Chris is in there. A former MLB pitcher, Brian Moeller. I don't know if you remember him. He's in there as well. A couple other dads who have sons who are playing in college right now. So it's a great group of guys, but Joe leads that, and Joe has just been very instrumental in me trying to walk each and every single day, and kind of just I love his example. So been at CLC. I recently accepted a role where I head up our strategic brand management team. So, for instance, we have these exclusive and semi-exclusive programs that our team oversees for a majority of our schools. And so it's just trying to be a little bit more strategic. How can we align with our top best-in-class licensees or our manufacturers, give them some insulation so they're not having to compete with so many people. They pay guarantees and a bunch of technical jargon, but but it's a very fun group to be a part of. Have a great team, and so to me, each day isn't work, and I love that. Whereas when I was at the bank, when Sunday rolled around, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got to go to work tomorrow. That doesn't happen here, and so it's been great, and it's been a wonderful way for me to provide for Holly and the kids, and and our church too at the same time.
Yeah. Man, it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you're standing on a platform.
Yeah.
And this is how the conversation starts. This is how the relationship starts. This is how, as you just detailed everything. Again, God is like an app working in the background all the time in your life, doing things you can't even imagine. And he's really Jeremiah. I know the plans I have for you.
Yeah, it's my favorite verse.
I'm going to bless you and not harm you. And he's done that in your life over and over and over again.
Right.
Which is, I'm sure sometimes it's like too much. You're like, Lord, your grace is too much. It's like you just keep pouring it on me and my family, and you're grateful for it.
Yeah.
And that's the only right response, is to be grateful and thankful. But I also like what you said. It's not a job. It's like a vocation for you, right? It's like a lifestyle. And that's what a job should be. It should be something that you do want to do every single day of the week. Now, you got to take breaks. You got to have a little Sabbath rest. But it's something where you know that you have found your groove, doing something that God has orchestrated for you. Ephesians 2:10 says we are his workmanship in Christ Jesus, prepared beforehand to do good works. The cool part of that was he prepared it beforehand. He knew exactly how he had wired you, and he was going to put you in that place so that you could fulfill the role that only you can fulfill. And that's the thing I try to encourage more people, especially guys, as they talk about, jobs and what they're going to do. And it's like, you know what? God's got something for you. Keep exploring it, because we need you to do that particular job that he's got set for you. He's orchestrated this thing. Follow him. And I think it's the part that really kind of galvanizes us, is that, God's got something for us. We may have to search a little bit. We may have to change jobs a few times. We have to move. But there's something that you can get up every day to bring hope and encouragement to other people and fulfill the gifts and talents that only you have, right? Your KSAs are God-given. And some company somewhere needs you. They need you to find that groove. Man, what a blessing. But it's kind of cool too, because you think back to like all this licensing stuff, and you think about the world has changed dramatically since the early 2000s to where we're at today. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
NIL.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a prevalent part of our business now, where we're adjusting. We have to make sure that with some of these agreements that we enter into, that there are funds allocated for name, image, and likeness. And our company's done a great job of doing that and dedicating resources. Where now, could you imagine this, Mick? When you're in college, we have an app called Compass. And let's say you go out and you do a radio spot for a car dealership. We would submit the payment to you through the app, and then you basically log everything that you're doing, and then you accumulate those payments because you're a student athlete. Isn't that crazy to me? I was talking to James Tibbs, and he's doing really well. He went to Pope, played at Florida State, great kid, and he's right now in AAA with the Dodgers. I think he's the first minor leaguer to hit 10 home runs so far this year.
How about that?
Yeah, great player. I was talking to him while I was at Florida State, and we had gone down for a weekend series, and he, took Brooks in the locker room. Great guy.
Oh.
Brooks thinks the world of him. He's hung the moon in Brooks' eyes. And earlier that day, they went and read at an elementary school, and I was like, okay, so did they give you lunch or something? He's like, no, they paid us $500. And I'm like, oh my goodness! But this is the world of name, image, likeness, and this was just a couple years ago. These guys are getting so much money, and it's just so. As a company, we are having to evolve, but that's probably our biggest challenge, just because there are no guardrails right now,
Right.
and there need to be. It's the Wild Wild West, and you're experiencing that in high school, which is crazy. To think that guys are out there transferring and getting paid and having agents. We talked about that earlier. It
is. It's I mean, on the one hand, I like it because any one of these players could blow out a knee and not be able to have it redone, right? Or they could blow out an arm and it's you can't repair it.
Mm-hmm.
Something could happen, and they're able to make some money right now. And it's not only helpful for them, but it's also helpful for their families.
Oh, sure.
And my parents didn't have much money. And I think back to if I was playing in college and I could have got paid a little bit, it would have been nice.
Yeah.
It would have been helpful for the whole family.
Same.
So I'm grateful these guys can do it. I may be out there on some things where I think it's good too, where guys can transfer. I know there's some restrictions coming probably, but I'm glad they can transfer. If you notice, the guys who've been lobbying at the top, they've been ex-coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that what I might say might be controversial, and could lead to an opprobrium, an outcry, a public outcry. But I think it's a good thing on one hand that guys can transfer and go play somewhere else. And I know people say, well, this is like travel ball on steroids. But a lot of the people who watch these games have no idea what kind of people these coaches are. Some of them are great coaches. Coach Martin, from all accounts that I've heard, amazing Christian man.
Mm-hmm.
There are coaches who care, but there are also some guys who really love control, and they just want to control kids so they can make lots of money.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to bash him. I'm just not a fan of Georgia football. And I just think we've seen a level playing field in the past couple of years with some things. And so I'm not bothered by that. I like the fact that a kid can make some money and a kid can transfer and do some things. I may have experienced it in my own life. And so I'm grateful and thankful those things are in place. I know there's some restrictions and things we're hearing from, administrations that are trying to put stuff in place. But I do hope there is some guardrails to protect kids, and I say kids, I know some of these people are not kids. You get to college, you get to a certain age. But I think there still needs to be some freedom where people can make money. And if they're in a situation where it's not a good situation for them, they can transfer and try to go play somewhere else, utilize the talents that the Lord's given to them. Well, I think we're getting close to a little over an hour, and I think the cameras will probably start cutting off here in just a second, and that'll definitely be our cue to stop. We could go on for quite a while. There's so much we could talk about. Right. But as you look back over the time we've known each other, and even before that, I mean, your story as I'm listening to it, you moved to East Cobb from Florida. Now, Florida's a great state, don't get me wrong. But think about how the Lord was setting you up for an avenue for baseball, sports, licensing. Yeah. All you can continue to say is, I know the plans I have for you. Mm-hmm. You don't know the plans that he has for you. We don't know what tonight holds. I got to go coach a game tonight, and we got to play a pretty good team. I don't know if we're going to win or not. Who knows? But he knows the plans all along the way. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when both, when all of our children are grown up and they have their own kids, he knows the plans. And it's to make us prosper. It's to love us, to care for us. And he showed us ultimately this by going to the cross and dying for us. To say, hey, if you don't believe me, if you don't believe that I'm for you, here's the greatest example. I died for you. If I didn't die for you, you would have to taste the eternal damnation. I took that damnation on the cross so that you can have peace with God. You can have a relationship with God. I'm going to die for you and rise on that third day so that you can experience grace. And I think that's what you can see in your life. And I know for me, in my life, both of us were blessed with wonderful women who have done nothing but bless us each day. I mean, we have our fights, right? We're married. Let's don't get carried away. But the fact of the matter is they're a blessing. And the way they care and love for us, but also for our children. And as you're talking about Holly, I mean, the way she serves outside of those roles. And so you can't help but just say, thanks be to God for his great gift of Christ and all his richest blessings that he's given to us. Anything else that you can think of before we land this plane?
Yeah, I would, as you know, and I really appreciate you and your parents coming, and Adrian too. But with my dad passing September of last year, it's been trying, but at the same time, I know that he's fully healed and restored, and I'm grateful for the 46 years that I had with him.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that he led me down the right path to become a follower of Christ and his example. And I know that he got even closer with him the past 10, 11 years. He would wake up early and do his Bible studies, and he would take certain classes to get certified. And I don't know, it's just, I do want to touch on how grateful I am. Yeah, I miss him every day, and it's hard not to be able to talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't miss him yelling at umpires, even in some of Brooks's games.
My mom still does that. It's not my dad; it's my mom.
That's right. Your dad's so laid back.
Yeah.
So is your mom too.
Most times, except for umpires.
Yeah. But just I'm extremely grateful for the time that I had with him, and I appreciate just how much he poured into Brooks and Cheney, and he loved Holly, and so it's just something I just want to share that, while he's no longer physically here, I know where he is, and that brings me comfort. And that's, to your point, that's all because of the sacrifice of our Lord. And it's just, that's kind of what keeps me going each day. And I can put a smile on my face knowing that while he's not physically here for me to pick up the phone and call him or give him a hug, like I know where he is. And it's just, it stinks. It stinks, but at the same time, I know what he went through and how his health had just fallen off a cliff. And I don't want anybody to go through that. So there were a couple times, Mick, where he would be like, Lord, I'm ready. And I'm like, gosh, it's hard to hear as a son, but I know why. I know what he's going through. And so just want to say that. And, I'm extremely thankful for Holly, like you said. I mean, if Holly and Adrian weren't in our lives, oh my goodness. My household and my family would be upside down. She is our rock. She keeps us going. Yeah. I'm extremely thankful, even though I don't verbalize that. I always tell guys, make sure that you give your wife 3 non-sexual hugs a day. That's right. Seriously,
they'll appreciate it.
Yes, yeah. But I'm so thankful that the Lord put us in each other's lives. Like, I used to joke around and call, and I know we're running over time, but I used to call your dad my number 2 dad. Like, I loved your parents. I appreciated them. Yeah. When Maggie and Shay would show up for some of our games, it was great to see them too. And I don't know, I just felt like you guys were an extension of our family, or, you were a second family. And, all of our shenanigans back in the day, all of our inside jokes, driving down dirt roads in your S10, like skidding and stuff. Gosh, we get in so much trouble these days, but it was so much fun just to kind of have those moments with you. Yeah.
Well, you were probably most shocked when you probably heard I was a Christian, number 1, and number 2, I was gonna be a pastor. You're like, right. I know this dude. He's not that great of a guy. But it's all about grace, man.
Grace and mercy.
Grace abounds, man. It really does. But going back to your dad, it's nothing that the resurrection won't fix. sucks.
Right.
Right. And that's what Peter says in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3. He says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who's caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." That's our hope as Christians. And man, I would implore anybody who's watching this, if you're not a Christian, number one, pick up Scripture and begin to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and see for yourself who Jesus was and what he did. But also, I would implore you to trust Christ, because, man, it gives you a living hope for something after this life, something where all of our greatest hopes and fears and dreams are all brought together in a new heaven, new earth that looks somewhat like this earth, except for without sin and the suffering and the sorrow, and the former things have passed away. And man, I look forward to that day. I will miss your dad's toupees, though.
As you can see, I never
Hey, man, I said forget it. Just go with it.
It's so easy. My barber's always available. I don't have to tip.
That's right.
Don't have to schedule any appointments.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, man. We're just touching the tip of the iceberg. We could talk so much more, but we got to land the plane.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thanks. I know, driving 45 minutes from East Cobb to West Cobb is a little bit of a feat because there's no direct shot, right? It's a lot of winding ways to get here. But man, I'm grateful for you and thankful for how the Lord brought you into my life so many years ago.
Same.
And I know we've been extremely busy with marriage, with kids. And, my youngest son is in the 8th grade right now. He'll be a freshman at Harrison next year. Maybe one day. Maybe. We'll see. And maybe he'll be playing against your son in high school when Lassiter has to play Harrison for a state championship. Wouldn't that be great? That'd be great. Awesome. Yeah, it would be fun. But thanks. I really appreciate your time. And thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. We're praying for you. Please pray for us. If you'd like to support the podcast, take a look at the link in the description below. God bless. We're praying for you.